Good afternoon. Today, I would like to talk about how architecture can transfer knowledge through time, or how we build with architecture very large time capsules. These questions are about architecture and time, and I ask them often as an architect, but recently I had to go through them deeply, and you will see why. Architecture through history has been a way to understand our past generations and a way to project ourselves to the future. We look at our ancestors' constructions from multiple perspectives, trying to understand them. But maybe the most remarkable aspect of our analysis is technology. Technology gives us information on how our ancestors were building and which possibilities they had with the technology, and as a result, which geometries they were able to design. Perfect example of architecture and time is where we are now, the city of Roma, where it feels almost like the perfect place to speak about this. So the reason why I had to go deeply, literally, on this subject, it's a project I'm working that is a chapel in North Carolina, United States. And this project started with an invitation from an American gentleman that he invited me to design, an excavated chapel in a granite rock in his property that needs to last for 3,000 years. So the first thing I thought, most likely the same thing you are thinking at the moment. It's like, how crazy is that? And it's like, this is not serious, or this must be a joke. But no, it is true. Actually, when I met with him and the community that is supporting him, I understood the project is real. And here is a video where he explains his vision and what he transferred to me to start working on that.
Yeah, this particular spot is kind of meaningful to me because when we first got the property a little more than 30 years ago, there was a spring here and it was well overgrown. And so I came and cleaned it out, and then this rock was the first place to sit. And so a year or two after that, I was sitting on this rock and just had this overwhelming sense. And I can't describe it as anything other than, I mean, I don't know why I would think of this, but it just you need to build a chapel. And I thought, well, where? As my thinking sort of evolved, and I took a tour or two of the rock quarry, and then we drilled a few wells and discovered that there was granite under the ground here, just a few feet. The thinking came, you should build the chapel under the ground because it needs to last for 3,000 years.
So I think it's also remarkable that one of the first things he told me, and I think it's remarkable because we are in a TED stage, he told me that he was watching one of my TED Talks, and then he felt that I was the perfect architect for his project, and of course I fully agree with him. So I was very happy. I think it lasted 10 seconds, my happiness. After I started being extremely worried about being commissioned, one of the biggest challenges I ever had as an architect, if not the biggest. So the site of the project is in the middle of this beautiful forest in North Carolina, in the city of Raleigh, in a sloping terrain next to a river. And because we need to go 15 meters below ground to find the level of the rock, and because the rocket starts at 7 meters, from the exterior, we will be able to see only this landmark tower that holds the bells and also is telling people the chapel is here. And it has multiple functions, like bringing light and ventilation to the interior. From the design perspective, the main issue is how to bring people 15 meters below ground. So we start placing the main entrance on the lowest point of the lot. And from this point, a sloping ramp starts going next to this beautiful river that it's on the same side. And then it starts going down, entering into the earth, creating a sloping ramp that wraps up the actual space of the chapel. And the aim of this ramp, besides having this movement to the level -15, is to create an experience that will quiet your mind before you arrive to the main space. And this experience is made by a combination of materials, textures, light, and these materials are basically two, the corten steel and the natural rock, that they evolve from more corten steel on the exterior to the pure rock on the interior. And a series of skylights and openings also help to create this experience that is made with the materials and also with light. And also some small openings showcase a little bit what will happen in the main space. Finally, when we reach the lowest point, we connect again with the exterior on this lobby that also brings light and ventilation. So we are building a space that is excavated 15 meters below ground, but is totally open. It has no doors. The interior space is one big vault that will seat 250 people, and it's purely built from rock, except the altar with a small piece of corten steel. And it has this opening on top of the altar that brings light down. And also, it's just below the exterior tower, and it brings natural light and ventilation to the interior. So, besides the design of the space, there was a moment on this project that we had to stop and think. We had to stop and think what we want to tell people in the future. Because it needs to last 3,000 years. So, and to answer that, we look at past construction, past architecture, especially religious, and we analyzed what is the most remarkable aspect of all this construction, and the answer is technology. The technology is what remains and what is telling us more information about the past civilization. For example, in Stonehenge, they were using raw material, the stone, placing one on top of each other, creating images of peace and unity. Or the Greeks building with big pillars and architraves. The Romans, they were the masters of building with domes and vaults, and as an evolution, the Romanic architecture of the basilicas that evolved later with the Gothic architecture being lighter and higher thanks to the buttresses and reinforcements, and so on until we reached to the modern movement, where new materials gave us total possibilities of geometries and shapes. So, in our project, we had to think, what we want to tell people in the future? Or in another way, what is the technology of nowadays and how we want to project that? So we thought, what is the technology of nowadays? And our answer to that is that nowadays we have the technology to design a space using the maximum technology to make the space totally free from technology. So basically, use technology to not to build it. And let me explain that. Basically, what we are doing is to use the maximum computer engineering design software to design a space that maximizes the natural properties of the rock in terms of structure, lighting, ventilation, and acoustics in a way that we don't need to implement that. We're using the geological studies of the site to design a structure purely built from the natural stone that doesn't need any other material to be supported. We're using 3D modeling techniques to shape the tower and the interior surface of the rock. So the interior space placed 15 meters below ground has natural lighting most of the day. And that void of the skylight, together with the interior, we use the different temperatures and pressures of the exterior and interior over the whole year to have natural ventilation, and we don't need to build any mechanical ventilation or air conditioning. And finally, my favorite one, the acoustics. We are shaping the final surface of the stone in a way that the interior space is perfectly tuned like a musical instrument, so it will sound perfect with stone. So the resulting shape of all that it's a result that it is a space that it is already there in the rock. It is a space that will be totally integrated with nature. It will feel like nature, and more important, it will perform like nature. So what we are doing here, what we are telling to the future. So our message to the future is that nowadays, in the beginning of the 21st century, we had the technology to design a space to live in community according to the environment, maximizing the properties of the existing resources with technology to overall find a better connection between nature and people. Thank you very much.